Moving from biggest surprise to the best story, because stories can come in any shape and size.
Yeah.
To me, the best story of the season has been the Vancouver Canucks, and that is an incomplete story as of right now. But
Oh, yeah.
seeing the turnaround from December 6th, when Jim Benning and Travis Green was fired, to where they're at now, 9-0-1 since then, played themselves into having some semblance of hope. That's the best story to me. We'll start with Shane on here. What is your best story so far in the NHL season?
See, my best story, I mean, yeah, so far, I mean, if you're gonna talk about the last, like, month and a half, Vancouver being, I think, undefeated under Bruce Boudreau. We're only 1 loss under him now. But for me, it has to be Nashville. Honestly,
Mm.
they're sitting ninth in the league. UC Zaros has taken control there now. David Riddick has been a solid backup for him, but I know there was a lot of talk, Duchesne and Johansson, were they gonna, be able to refine themselves? They traded Ryan Ellis, which I still don't agree with, but that's besides the point. But and then you lost, Pekka Rinne, your voice, the icon of that franchise between Legwan and Weber leaving. He was the face of the franchise. Everyone knew who he was. So for Nashville, being able to do that, and the players within Nashville, like Duchesne and Johansson, who've been able to find their groove, it's nice to see. Like having a competitive Nashville team in that Central with St. Louis and Colorado, it makes good storylines. And I was worried that they were going to regress with how everything was going. And honestly, I'm that's been my story of the year so far.
Neil, who do you have for your best story, or what do you have as your best story?
Yeah, no, my best story would probably have to be the Minnesota Wild. I think that when you look at the Wild, and it really kind of starts when you go back to how they performed in the bubble. I think they showed that they were definitely moving in the right direction to being a competitive team. And now you look at where they are. And granted, they for one period of the Winter Classic got the doors blown off them, and that's not good. But that happens in every Winter Classic. How many outdoor games have we seen where it's just there's one bad period in what usually has been a pretty competitive game? It happens quite often, and that was just the case in this one. But they were still able to make it relatively competitive in the third period. But Minnesota, with a lot of the moves that Billy Guerin has made since he took over, has been tremendous. He has really just created so much depth as well in their farm system. I mean, they just brought up Marco Rossi today, and we look at Marco Rossi. What a crazy last year and a half for Marco Rossi, right? Like a guy that was drafted in the top 10 who almost died basically because of COVID and was able to come back, and now he's been playing really well down in the minors. Now is finally getting an opportunity to play up in the NHL, and I think it's tremendous. And then you look at the goaltending, and yeah, Cam Talbot has struggled a little bit of late, but he's actually been really, really solid. Kaapo Kakkonen, I really, really like, and I think that if he develops more, he could be a number one goaltender, especially for a team like Minnesota. I think also for them to finally get off the contracts of Suter and also Zach Parise, kind of got somewhat of a monkey off their back kind of thing, where it was just like, okay, now we can kind of move forward with it. And I think when you look at it, they have a relatively balanced team. Kirill the Thrill Kaprizov has been as advertised. Kevin Fiala, although has kind of struggled a little bit this year, is still a very, very dangerous top six player. Joel Eriksson Ek when he's healthy. Jared Spurgeon's still there. There's a lot to like with Minnesota. A team that, if they can really get fully healthy and everything starts clicking like it was a little bit earlier in the year, even though they've still been playing relatively well, that's a team that I think could certainly compete to win a division title and be a major factor once the playoffs start. So for me, the team that stands out the most is the Minnesota Wild.
Well, we've had a lot of fun already, and we're going to have a little bit more fun. But first, we're going to pay some bills. We're going to cut to a commercial break. When we come back, a little bit more hockey talk with Neil and Shane. We'll be right back.